We're just talking about multiplication patterns. So when we do multiplication patterns of decimals, this is really, really, really easy. If I take a decimal number like 38 and 4/10 and I multiply it by 1, what am I going to get? Yes?
38.
Yeah, I'm just going to get 38 and 4/10. Now, when we multiplied numbers times 10 before, we added what? What did we add last time? Remember when we multiplied things by 10, 100, and 1,000? What did we do? We added something. Nick?
Did you move the decimal? Like the point?
Well, when we multiplied whole numbers times 10, 100, and 1,000, remember we shift the zeros over? So when we multiply decimal numbers times powers times 10, 100, and 1,000, all we're doing is we're moving the decimal over one spot if we're multiplying times 10. And I get 384. If I multiply the same number times 100, guess what my zeros tell me to do? Move 2 times. So when I move this 2 times, I'm going to have a space. What do I do in my empty spot? Colin?
Put a 0.
Put a 0. So now I have 3,840. Well, guess what's going to happen when I do the same number times 1,000? What do they tell me to do? My zeros want me to move it 3 times. And I'm just adding basically another 0 to this number. So when we're doing multiplication patterns of decimals, if you have 1,000 times 214 thousandths, I'm going to move the decimal over how many times? What do my zeros tell me? 3 zeros. I move it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And I don't have any empty spots, so my answer is 214. Do you see it?
Yes.
Now, sometimes you're going to have to work backwards. And this is what we're going to practice on your sheet. So if I have, let's see. Seventy-four hundredths times n equals 74. How many times did that have to move over? How many times did my decimal move over?
Twice.
Twice. So what does the n have to be if I just did 2 jumps?
100.
100. Good. So my missing number, my variable n, is equal to 100. Do you see how I did that?
Yes.
Sometimes it'll have n times let's do 8 and 17 hundredths equals 81 and 7/10. What does my n have to be?
10. 10.
Because I moved over once, my n is equal to 10. Now there's another thing we have to do. Multiplying by 10, 100, and 1,000 is easy. But what about when I multiply a number times 1/10? Which way do you think my decimal is going to go? You remember when our decimal went left when we multiplied times 1/10? So if I'm doing anything multiplied times 1/10, my decimal's going to go to the left instead of the right. And my answer is 639 1/10. What about times 100? How many spots do you think I'm going to move? 2. Because 100th, my zeros told me to move 2 spaces. 1, 2. So I get 63 91/100. What about times 1,000th? How many spots am I going to move my decimal now? 3. So I'm going to have 6 and 391